Roll, please.
I want to change it.
1 second. Moore,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Capron. Here. Greckin.
Here.
We stand for a moment of silent prayer by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marcia, you want to join us?
Excuse me. Yeah, that way the hearing loop works.
Yeah. There's only one. Wait a minute.
Well, I'm very honored this recognition, and I must tell you what a privilege it has been to document so much of Sioux City history. And in the process, it's like being a paleontologist. You dig up one story and you find 5 more. I was telling Rhonda that here as we're in the new, I still call it the new City Hall, I think about the Perry Creek project and the years and years and years that took to accomplish and how much impact it has had on our community. So thank you for this honor, and as I said, what a privilege. Sioux City is so rich with stories, so rich with people who have made such a difference, so rich with their economic impact, and going back to the explorers. We have this big chunk of history, and of course with our stockyards and all of the stories since. So I take with me during retirement our history together with the people of this area, and I thank you, City Council, and I will treasure my years in Sioux City. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
We'll hope you're just taking a little sabbatical and not a full retirement, too. Thank you for all you've done for the community. Next, we'll have an interview with Paul Taylor for the Environmental Advisory Board. Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve on that board.
My name is Paul Taylor, 45 Ridgeview Road. I have an extensive background in my education's geological engineering, and some of the stuff that they have taught clear back 30, 40 years ago is finally being recognized as being needed. Whether I'm chosen for this board or not, I would suggest that you fill the position if it has another position, and put me on another one that you don't have a fill. That's about all I have.
Questions?
Yeah, I have one question. What do you think you could add to the board?
Don't know. Can't tell you that right now.
You understand what the board's for, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the consent agenda, which is items 2 through 12B. You can consider all items to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's asked for a council member. If you want to speak on any of these items, please come forward as I read them and state your name and address for the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is the reading of the city council minutes of May 6, 2019. 3 is the resolution authorizing a release of funds for the CDBG program. 4 is a resolution approving the final plat of Eagle Ridge Edition, thank you, Mr. Moore, 1511 Old Highway 141, the petitioner's Eagle Ridge Holdings LLC. 5 are actions relating to street closures. A is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area for the Firehouse Bars Pride Weekend event. B is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area for the Firehouse Bars Biker Street Dance event. C is a resolution temporarily closing a portion of 4th Street for the Brightside Cafe and Deli one-year anniversary block party. 6 are actions relating and actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specifications for the Taxi C South reconstruction project. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Heritage Park ramp repair project. 7 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving an amendment, number 1, to the agreement with McClure Engineering for the Leach Avenue reconstruction project. B is a resolution approving a contract to L&L Builders for the Siouxland Expo Center.
I do have a question on that one, Mayor. Can you just explain to me in simple terms what the alternate number 7 is? I think I understand, but I want to make sure my understanding.
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. I'll defer to Dale McKinney of Stone Group to explain any questions about the alternates.
Dale McKinney, 4200 Country Club Boulevard. This is a pre-engineered metal building. We used a non-pre-engineered metal building roof system on the building to avoid having that plastic liner insulation you would see on the roof, but that's the insulation we're using in the sidewalls. This takes that liner panel inside the building all the way up to the eaves so that it's a more finished look. It'll wear and tear quite a bit better with activities that Matt's going to have in the building.
So that's what's called the liner panel?
Correct.
That they're referring to?
Yes.
In our write-up?
It'll also do a little better job of controlling sound.
Okay. And Dale, and thanks for that explanation. And then on alternate number 2, we're not compromising any part of the structure by eliminating, and we're removing what, the canopy, structure, and related items?
Correct. No, that's just the entrance canopy. We can add it back at any point in time or build it in the future.
Well, it's something that could be added on?
Yes.
At a later time?
Easily.
Okay, thank you.
Dale, can I ask just a quick question,
Sure.
please? Mr. Moore and I had a little discussion last week about when there's a construction project and the bid is high. And last week we had an item on the agenda that was $600,000 above what the engineers estimate. And our discussion was a little later about it would be nice if we knew where the difference was and why the engineer estimate says one figure and then when the bids come. So needless to say, when I saw this, I got to thinking, well, you know, I think Dan's right. Here's where the low bid, and here's what I'm thinking citizens might think. If the engineer's opinion is $12,700,000 and the low bid is almost $15 million, and they're going to think, well, why didn't, you know, what went wrong or why is it so different and why would we approve something that we think is going to cost maybe 12.7, and it ends up costing us 15. So I think the question, or the statement Dan made to me that seems to ring true in the last week is, it would be nice if we knew when that happened. And I know there are times when it's not a guessing game, but you can't control the costs.
Sometimes it is and can be
A guessing game. And I guess that's what I was looking for your opinion.
This was a pretty unique project, so going out in the marketplace to do research through some of the cost estimating books that are out there, this didn't fit model of anything that I could find anywhere. And it's a mixture of a pre-engineered metal building and a more traditional steel column frame, steel stud building, kind of pushed together. The big thing was we had a budget early on from a pre-engineered metal building system that gave us a budget to work from, but this was way back when this was a 200,000 square foot building. So we tried to just kind of dial that back without going back to them and asking them to recalculate that. I think we missed some things there we probably took a little too much off of. And this site by far is the worst subsoil condition site ever worked on in my entire life. So that was a huge number that kind of put us out and above.
Okay.
And we're gonna take a serious look at that. I got a couple ideas in the back of my head that if you approve it today, we're gonna explore to see if there's a way of taking some money out of it without changing what we're doing.
Sure. Terrific. Well, thank you for your explanation. It helps me understand better. I think that's kind of what we were talking about.
It was, Pete, and thanks for asking.
Any other,
Anyone else to be heard?
kind of excited about getting this one started.
Yes, I am too.
It's time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
No one else be heard? C is resolution awarding a consulting services agreement to DGR Engineering for the Siouxland Expo Center project. D is resolution approving a skybox sublease agreement with Irving Jensen Jr. and the Explorers Baseball Club. A are actions authorizing the issuance of checks. A is a resolution approving a settlement of tort claim and authorizing payment. B is resolution authorizing or approving a settlement of a tort claim and authorizing payment. 9 are approved total checks issued for the reporting period April 2019. 10 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, and vapor permits. See the list, come forward if you have any questions. 11 are applications for beer and liquor license. See the list and come forward if you have any questions. 12 are receipt of minutes. See the list, come forward if you have any questions. Anyone to be heard on any of those items, please come forward now. Are you ready to vote?
I'm going to call it.
Okay.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
13 are recommendations of Planning and Zoning Commission. 13 is an ordinance adopting a site plan for 4200 Green Avenue. The petitioner is U.S. Cellular. The P&Z recommends approval. The first consideration passed May 6, 2019. I'll move second reading.
Second.
Anyone to be heard?
Pam Hesse, 408 Cleveland. As I told you last week, we've got one in front of us, we've got one behind us. While I was looking, when I was outside working in the yard, we actually have 3 cell towers. There's one to the right, one in front of us, one behind us. And if this one goes through, it's going to be right in front of my house. They say that the closer that you are to these cell phone towers, it is chances of causing cancer, which I understand there's everything and everything out there, but we've already got 3 there, and the other one is even closer yet. And they said it's quadruple of a chance of getting illnesses then. That's all I've got to say. It's just we've already got 3. I don't think I need the one in the front yard.
I'm Doug Hesse, 408 Cleveland Street. You guys all heard me last week. I think we got off on the wrong note. The issue is not the road, it's the tower. You know, we got onto a subject that we probably shouldn't have never have. That's for a later time. I don't want the tower in my yard, basically. 600 feet ain't that far from your house. I mean, I'm straight on same level ground as this tower. Everybody else around the neighborhood is below it, besides the neighbors behind me, which they never got anything for any of the meetings or nothing. The other gal showed up for the zoning one. You know, she didn't get anything. She expressed her opinion, same as us. She's got one right in her backyard. And then, like the other one across from us, and then the one they want to put from the house. I feel there's other areas around that area that's open agricultural area. You know, have they looked at that? You got the bypass within 1.5 miles, city property. There are areas out there they can be looking at, besides in residential. You know, it's residential all the way around this thing besides wet. I just feel we need to look at something different. I don't need another tower in my front yard. You know, my wife has expressed all the other issues that can come along with it. I know the company in the past that's looking at these towers has been in the other same situation, similar. One of them, they never even showed up for the council meeting. You know, I mean, there's plenty of areas in this city that's open, besides right in the middle of a neighborhood. I think they could look elsewhere, and I don't want to see another tower. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question to the tower people. Where else have you looked besides this area? And how do you pick where these towers are going to go?
Name and address, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Julie Shebeck. My address is 2124 Larry Drive Northeast. As it was mentioned a few weeks ago, but I can recap it, U.S. Cellular has been looking to come into this market, the Sioux City market, the northwest part of the state, for quite some time. This is this particular site is part of a large build-out that they are looking to do. So what they do is the RF engineer will pick the locations and throughout specifically in Sioux City, of the goals that they're looking to place a tower. So the goal is, if you're on the phone and you're in one quadrant or area, that you can continue on your phone and the call will transfer from one tower to the other without dropping it. So that is the intent for as well as any other company. So looking at the community as a whole, the engineer is going to be strategic, I guess, if you will, in terms of locating the towers that will place them for residential use, business use, transportation and cars, business, personal, 911, safety, everything. So that is kind of the combination of it. Then you narrow it down more so when we get into a particular site. We've got to look, it's like, okay, what's going to be in compliance with zoning, you know, the setbacks, that type of thing. You know, of course, we have to file with the FAA and get those type of approvals. You know, do we have a willing landowner? Are we able to, you know, does it fit into the overall grid or the system of what the engineer is looking to do? Because again, the overall goal is to provide the coverage and without dropping the call, so the customers can have the great experience with their phones. So that is basically how it kind of comes to be specifically in this type of a setting. So this particular location works in that master plan, if you will, for the sites. We did look at and we did analyze the other towers that are in that close proximity. So,
Are those towers yours also?
no, they're not. They're not our towers. Those are some other companies.
And just for clarification too, with those other towers, there is space available that would accommodate your needs, correct? It was just not the terms that you were looking for?
Well, one of them is it would not have met in terms of the coverage because it was kind of already loaded in terms of carriers and the ground elevation. So we would have gone on a lower center line for our antenna, if you will. So that wouldn't have provided our coverage, our goals that we were looking to provide for the coverage. And then the other one, yes, it was in terms of just the terms and that type of a thing, so yes. So those are all the components under that, the Iowa, that state statute, so.
Well, it's quite obvious that the cell phone companies have found a nice little spot to have four cell towers, which I can understand where they're coming from. So,
Did I explain everything to you that you needed to add? I think I did.
Daniel White, 12020 Richmond Drive in Urbandale, project manager for US Cellular. Julie captured it really well of what it takes when we look for a site. And with the Iowa State statute, it really is very, very clear of what we're supposed to do and obligated to do as a company is to find not only to meet all those local zoning things, but state and federal requirements as well, and find the best site possible that fits the network that we're trying to build a superior network for Sioux City. Yeah. And this is the spot that we would like to go to accomplish that.
I understand that. I mean, I get all that, but I'm going to put myself in their position. Do I want 4 towers that surrounded me?
Actually, there's more than that.
No, we're not going to do that today. We don't do it any day. I'm not going to let you talk, but you're going to have to come back up, okay? Thank you.
So that I guess that's my question. I understand where they're coming from. I understand where you're coming from too, so okay. I get both sides.
Now, if you want to speak again, come on up.
You know, she named off quite a few. We don't see the water tower there on Stone Avenue on the other side of Witt, but there's cells on top of that too. That's what I was going to say there.
Well, I'm just talking about the ones that are surrounding you
Correct.
that you could be upset with.
Yeah, right. They're in visual sight of us.
Right.
Yeah. But I just brought that up because there is another one back there. We don't see it, but it is back there.
Well, that one don't count then.
And they're talking about the height of these towers and stuff. Where the other ones are at, they're on higher ground than where I'm at. So if they're talking about antenna height, you come into where we're lower than what the other 2 towers are. The other areas I'm talking to the north of us, they're higher grounds and they're open pasture area, per se. Out by the bypass, same thing. It's higher ground than we are, within a mile and a half of this area. You know, I'm just, move it away from me, I don't want to see it, you know, that type of deal. Thank you.
Jeff, what are our limitations, because we have some according to the state law?
Chris Madsen, Senior Planner. There are a number of restrictions that have been placed. The FCC essentially created a shot clock that the cities have 150 days to review an application from the date they've applied. The city planning process typically is around 45 days to when it gets to the city council. But in 2015, Governor Branstad did sign legislation that effectively limited what cities can and can't do, namely what we cannot do. We cannot require an applicant to submit information about service design, customer demand, or quality of service. We cannot force an applicant to co-locate on an existing tower. We cannot dictate the type of transmission equipment or technology used. So for instance, we cannot tell them it has to be 5G or it has to be 4G or can't be one or the other. We cannot require the removal of an existing tower as a condition of approval. We cannot impose any environmental testing, sampling, or monitoring requirements. We cannot regulate radio frequency, signal strength, or adequacy of service. We cannot reject an application based on any perceived or alleged environmental effects of radio frequency emissions. We cannot prohibit the placement of emergency power systems. We cannot charge an application fee, consulting fee, or other fees that we wouldn't a similar application. We cannot impose any surety requirements or to ensure removal of an abandoned tower. We cannot condition approval on agreement to allow co-location at less than market rate. We cannot limit the duration of approval for a tower, and we cannot discriminate based on the ownership of a tower.
A little more than I wanted, but thank you.
Thorough, Chris.
Basically says we don't have a lot of control, but anyway, I mean, what would be our grounds for not, I know we can vote no, but what would we prevail?
Setbacks would be the number one, and I know a couple other tower applications have come up that have been denied, and those
Right, but
two
we're
did
not, I'm
not
talking
meet.
this particular case, what,
I think from a staff perspective, that's why we recommended approval, because they did meet our local requirements.
problem, the state's got you to where there's not much we have control over other than that setback.
Correct.
Because then there's nothing taken into consideration as far as the neighborhood, is that correct? Where you can say just aesthetically or the feel of the neighborhood at some point, there are too many towers in one neighborhood or anything. Because I mean, if I was a company, right, and I understand you do your due diligence and you want to meet terms, and I understand as a company you would want to make sure you're on the up and up, but you could just say, well, no, we didn't negotiate it because ultimately we didn't reach the agreement on the terms, so we're going to build our own tower. It'd be advantageous for them to own their own tower anyway, so why would they want to come to terms?
Yeah, I think that comes to two of the items that I listed, that we can't force co-location and we can't deny it based on environmental.
I understand that. I'm just saying, did they really try in good faith? Why would you try in good faith?
Because it's sometimes a lot cheaper to rent than it is to own on a tower. It really is.
And there's nothing you can do as far as neighborhood. Say that, no, there's too many already in this neighborhood. We don't want an additional one because it would deter people from future development in that area. That's not within our realm.
I don't believe so.
Power.
I don't believe that's been challenged yet through any court system, or if any city has made that stance. So far, the only thing I'm aware of that we can really regulate on is setback requirement. And in this case, we have a 200-foot setback from residential properties. One of our planning commission members did ask us to research that, and that is one of the larger that we found for a setback requirement. But that's the only item that seems to be left to the cities, is that zoning requirement.
And it's 200 feet, Chris?
200 feet from residential property.
From residential property.
Otherwise, it's either the height of the tower or the fall zone. In this case, because residential is surrounding, that's the largest of the required setbacks, so that's what they met.
Thank you.
Steve Lewan, 4714 Correctionville Road, and I have a question about how this was all come about and okayed or by the city planning office, I guess, whoever they are. It says here that it was in the proposal that in relationship to the strategic plan, that this tower, I think the whole thing is the location of the tower. So apparently the location of this tower is going to make economic opportunity for whom, I'm wondering. That was one of the reasons that it was put forward, I guess. And it was also, it's to expand development opportunities and grow Sioux City, and then grow a vibrant and balanced economy. So I'm just wondering how that location, when you have people that don't want another skyline with another tower in it, those towers are going to be in the ones that are there already, not counting the one that's a little further to the west on Correctionville Road. They're in like a 20 or 25 acre area. That's a lot of towers in one little area. That's a small amount of land. And and these people are right up against it. And everybody else in the area can see the skyline, you know, and these towers are just bing, bing, bing. So I'm just wondering, to grow a vibrant and balanced economy, what is this site going to do that? That's why whoever wrote that, I would like to know that, how that's going to balance the economy in Sioux City, having that location. Or economic opportunity, what's it going to do? For Sioux City, the citizens.
I mean, I can make some assumptions. I did not write those words, and I'm not speaking for U.S. Cellular, but it's one of those things where, you know, they're trying to get cell coverage for consumers.
I understand
that
that.
utilize US Cellular. So more people can use their product.
Right.
Then you could say, well, look, we're trying to break up, maybe there's a monopoly of Verizon or some other user or carrier here in this area. So if they have more cell towers and more coverage, more people are willing to switch to US Cellular. If I have really bad service on a certain carrier, I'm not gonna buy that product. And so I think the hope is, look, if we have more coverage, if we can cover this side of the state or up in the
Right.
Northwest, more people will buy it, which leads to a balanced economy, which leads to more growth. I mean, you can make all of those
Right.
assumptions, right?
But
Now, whether you agree with it, I
But the
don't know.
citizens are against it, the ones that are here that are voicing it. I haven't seen any citizens say they were for it. Yeah, let's put one in my backyard, you
I
know?
understand that.
So that's why I'm saying the citizens are saying no, and so
I think
that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for, now talking about, I understand being strategic with the placement, like, and the net, or, you know, the reach of what it will get, I get that. Do you get, any leeway with that? I mean, do they pinpoint that location, or do you, if you're within a quarter mile of that location, or if you move it to, I mean, because there is some other rural areas that are very close to that area, and so I'm wondering, when you are geologically looking at that, is there, I'm sure.
Daniel White again. I mean, that's a really, really good question. In fact, there are teams of people that do this investigation. Study this, and that's their job function, is making sure that this network's gonna be a superior network, and they're very good at it, a lot smarter than me. I mean, that's not saying a lot, but.
And I'm sure if we appealed it, right, like if I went to you and I said, could you please go back to them, I understand this is the 100%, the best place that you could have it, is there anywhere comparable? You know, if it was a quarter mile this way and you got 99% coverage or 90% coverage, is that adequate? But as soon as you give in and do that, every community is gonna start pushing you to that. Is that your thought? I mean,
I can only surmise that. I mean, suspect that. I mean, the state statute was put into effect for a valid reason. I think
to handcuff us, really. I mean,
there are some great, interesting stories of things that have happened in regard to why the state statute was put into effect, but.
there are two sides to each. I understand that too. I'm not trying to come down on you. I'm just trying to problem solve of ways we could.
No, they're great, valid questions. They're great questions.
Well, listen, I'm not a fan of cell towers by any stretch of anybody's imagination, but it's another classic example of the state telling us what we need to do. I agree. You know, we could stop cell towers on the west side because you didn't meet the setback requirement, but unfortunately, we can stop this one too. We can vote no, but our day in court's not going to win. I know you're a great attorney, but what do you think your chances are of winning the case?
I think Chris correctly stated the parameters that we're dealing with.
I mean, and that's the
Location of
problem.
coverage.
It's the same thing that the state just did to us on right-of-way as far as being able to charge for. We just had a discussion in the economic development, you know, God love all you fiber companies and cell phone companies, but you come in and you dig up our right-of-ways and you don't restore them the way they should be restored, and then we get streets that cave in and we can't figure it out why we have potholes everywhere. Well, I can tell you why, because we don't require utility companies to put their infrastructure back in place the way they need to, including your old company, Steve. They're not very good at it either.
No.
They're in and out fast as they can be. They don't pack the soil back, and then we get to pay for the price for that. And
is that why on corners? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about, yeah, on sidewalks, but in streets, when Mid-America goes out and does a bunch of new gas lines, they don't drill that out and put rebar in and tie the bar back. They just put it back. They can put in muddy soil, and we can't do one thing about it. And I'm not picking on Mid-America, because they're just one company. Fibercom probably has some issues, and AT&T has issues, and they all do, and we don't do anything to monitor it because we don't have enough staff around here. So, and some of us get a little tired of the big state government telling us what to do, but I'm afraid you're going to win today, because I don't see how we do anything but pass this, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I had another issue. You were just talking about roads collapsing or streets or whatever. There's that little culvert over Bacon Creek that I assume cranes and all kinds of equipment are going to have to cross to get to that site. Is that culvert going to handle all that? I don't know what size cranes they got to bring in, but I don't know how old that box culvert is either. So that might be something somebody might want to look at if they're going to be bringing a whole bunch of heavy cranes and whatever across. I see no other way to get to the site than other going across Bacon Creek. That's on Lakeport Street, South Lakeport there. It's a dirt street, and there's an old, I don't know how long it's been there, but so that was just an issue. We're talking about streets collapsing.
Yep.
I just happened to think of that.
Exactly. Anyone else be heard? Doesn't say it's a hearing, but I guess it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now I see that. Lisa, we using this now?
Yes, we are.
It passes 4-0 to 1. Mr. Moore abstains. Is there anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? I'll move that.
Figure if it's gonna be a losing battle, I don't want you to have to stick around longer than you need to.
Waters? Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Abstain.
Scott?
Aye. I'll move third reading.
Second.
It's a case where you seriously, those of you, I understand your concerns, but you need to write your state legislatures because this is where, nothing against U.S. Cellular, I'm not picking on you alone. I feel the same way about Verizon and every other one of them. They go to the state and take all of our power away from us and give us very limited ability to control these sort of things, and I think it's terribly unfortunate.
And to the mayor's point, I would just echo that is, when you go home and you're still frustrated or still upset, I hope you know that the city council was trying to have your back and was trying to at least problem solve with you, but like the mayor said, a lot of times our hands are tied.
If this goes forward and they start doing, there's other issues we can look at too. I mean, like he brought up the road. It's, if you guys were out there and looked at it, you'd see what we see on the road. It's not even up to code. They tried to bring dump trucks across, bring dirt out of that same area, and they stopped them because it's not up to code. It's too heavy for the bridge, or the culvert piece.
Yeah,
There's other issues.
We'll make sure we tag that to make sure we know the weight limit on
Thanks.
it so they don't go across it if there's a weight limit, so.
Pam Hesse, 408 South Cleveland. I have pictures of that. It's a bridge on top of a bridge because one has totally sunk and the other one on top.
We'll make sure we get
So-
our city engineer out before they start construction, so. Gordon, you'll get on that right away, I hope.
Thanks.
Passes 4-0 to 1. 14 is a hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Limb Bloom Services for land in the combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Area. Motion is requested to defer this item till May 20th, 2019. I'll move that. Second. Are you calling the roll, or are we voting?
You may vote on your panel.
Okay, thank you.
Or 20.
Passes 5-0. We have a walk-on item today, a resolution awarding a purchase order to Bright Technologies of Hopkins, Michigan, in the amount of $78,400 for up to 3 months rental of a belt filter press for the wastewater treatment plant. I'll move to waive the rules and to allow consideration of an additional agenda item.
Second.
Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Okay, now on the resolution, I'll move it.
Second.
Greckin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
Citizen concerns, are there any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we'll go to council.
I think. I get rid of all this other stuff. And maybe Dave has the answer to this. I was approached by a business owner in the area of 20th and Pierce this afternoon, and he inquired, he said right now with the traffic signals at that intersection, you have to trip it in order on 20th Street in order for it to change. He said it's not working, and he was wondering if there was a way, because the traffic is less, because now people can't get all the way down Pierce Street. They're using 20th Street more, and the cars are backing up on 20th Street. He wondered if there was a way that they might be able to set that automatically to either that, or my suggestion was a four-way stop eventually. Once they tear up.
Dave Carney, Public Works Director. Yeah, I can have Kurt Frank take a look at it. We should be able to set it to automatic recall.
Oh, that'd be great if you could do that.
Yeah, it'll
Great.
just sense that there's always somebody there.
All right. Thank you very much. And I think the rest of the council received an email today from a couple that live on South Martha Street, and this has been an issue that has been dealt with, I think, for probably close to a year, if not longer. According to the couple, the street is undermining. They believe the street is undermining. There's cracks in the street, and the city comes out, fills it up with sand, washes it back down to try to pack it in, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the driveways. I think last year, remind me if I'm wrong here, but I think last year there were 3 houses. They live at the bottom of the 2900 block of South Martha is really steep. They live at the bottom. At the top, there were 3 residences, I believe, that had cracks in the driveways. And 2 of the 3, I also believe, have repaired the driveways, so hopefully that's not causing the street to undermine. But the 3rd one has not. They were served with a notice to abate.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Nick, Amber wasn't here today.
Oh, okay.
Try to go up and talk to her after I talked to you today. Yeah, I don't know what the status is on that last abatement.
So I'm just looking to give them a response to their email, and if we could get a timeline. I thought last summer we were working on.
I don't know what the time they gave them to abate that nuisance, how long they gave them.
How does that process work? Do we know?
I missed which property you were talking about.
Well, the property is at the bottom of a block, 2900 block of South Martha. The 3 houses up on top, well, actually, now maybe just 1 house up at the top. They believe, I believe they've been sent a letter.
That's my understanding, yeah.
To abate that nuisance, because the cracks in their driveway are allowing the water, the runoff, to go into the street and undermine the street. And I guess I'd like to be able to share with them what the abatement process is and what kind of period of time. And then, does the city have the authority to go in if the owner doesn't fix it, to fix it?
Sure. Under our nuisance abatement code, they're sent a letter, have an opportunity, a time frame to correct it. They can choose to have a hearing in front of the hearing officer within the city, and then staff present the information that they have regarding whether or not it's a nuisance. The hearing officer makes a decision, and then we go forward from there. Generally, they have to request the hearing within 10 days, I believe, of the notice.
Yeah, Gordon.
But if they don't request a hearing, then what happens?
Then it stands. The city does have the ability to go in and assess.
They do have.
Assess the cost back to the homeowner.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Gordon Fair, city engineer. I think I know the property you're referring to, and they are working on a block. The guy wants to fix his driveway at the same time he does his retaining wall that's next to his driveways on both sides, upstream, or uphill and downhill. And he is currently working on that. I will send someone out tomorrow to double check on that.
and I can get you that information on when that abatement letter went out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then,
Well, the unfortunate thing is if water continues to get on the street, there's no way for us to stop it coming out in front of their driveway.
no, I understand that. Well, is the problem really the street then?
Well, I'm saying if there's somewhere, there could be 1,000 spots where the water's getting in underneath the street, we can keep trying to locate that, but.
But if the street is being undermined, we don't want a truck to go through the
No,
street,
we
do we?
just that's where we keep going out and
Okay.
flushing sand underneath it to keep it from doing that. But if we can't find where the water's coming in.
It won't stop, no matter what you do, it just isn't gonna.
Yep. If we can't find it, if we can't stop the source of the water, we won't be, because it could be a spring, it could be all types of things.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Gordon. I think that's it from me. Thank you. Thank you.
I pass.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things going on. Just to highlight a few of them, later tonight, if you're feeling up to it, the Mayor's Youth Commission is actually dedicating their disc golf course up at Leif Erikson Park. That's at 6 p.m., so that should be a good time. I know some of the kids will go up there and showcase and play around. And I believe there'll be a little dedication ceremony. The next thing, sorry.
I'll be there.
Yeah. You gonna play a little disc golf?
Might do that.
Okay. Then, I don't have all of the information, but I believe that they're at the Sergeant Floyd Monument, or not Sergeant Floyd Monument, Welcome Center. There's an event on Wednesday at noon. Is that correct? Do you know what I'm talking about, Bob? No?
What is that? I'm sorry.
Anyone know what I'm talking about? I saw it on Facebook. Kaylin, did you see it at all? There was, at the Welcome Center, down by Betty Strong.
Like the 30th anniversary or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I think it's the 30th anniversary or whatever that is. There's a welcome, there's gonna be cake and everything. It's from, I think it's from noon to
Great.
1:30, down at the Welcome Center.
Okay.
What day do you believe that is?
It's
You know,
Wednesday,
it
the
might be,
15th.
maybe it's May 15th.
It is. Hey, here we go. Sergeant Floyd River Museum Welcome Center is turning 30. Thank you, buddy.
What time?
That is 11:30 to 1:30. I would have sent you a half hour late too. See, I gotta get all these events straight. Bob, it's amateur, I tell ya.
I think that's what I just said, didn't I? But we'll just go ahead with it. Now, we've double repeated it and we're good to go. Is there anything else, Mr. Waters, for the good of the order?
Yeah, there's the Morningside Days Parade. Come on. It's very exciting. It's
Do
taking
we have to
place on.
candy at that one, or is that when they banned candy?
Yeah, the band candy.
Yeah, it did.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because,
Good thing Dan's a rebel. He'll bring pockets full.
well, no,
just kidding.
because
I'm kidding.
Mr. Gretkin really got on me the year I did that. and we're not supposed to.
I just didn't want to
If
get
you're out
arrested,
walking-
that's
If you're
all.
out walking if you're out walking.
Yes, you can do
stand
that.
it. But if you're in the vehicle, you can't throw it out.
Do you want me to buy the candy so you can get it out of the
Would
back
you?
and walk?
Hey, I
Yeah,
have
why
candy.
not?
I have candy and I'm rolling, Dan, so I will drag
It's
the candy with me.
$100.
Make him carry the box
Get a
too
legal
while he's
opinion
doing it.
First.
Yeah, we need
No,
a
he'll keep
legal.
it in the
opinion.
back seat.
Would you, really, you do that for us?
Just keep rolling.
There's also the Sioux City Police Department, Sioux City Police Department awards ceremony on Thursday night. That takes place at 7 p.m.
Gretkin has us
Betty
covered
Strong,
on that.
right?
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
go to that.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
They have, Alex, they have cake too.
Nice. Hopefully you have the right time, because I tell you what.
7 o'clock.
7
There you go.
o'clock.
Great.
Cake
And
by
then
8.
The last thing I would say is, on Thursday's a very popular night. Go Third Thursday with the Sioux City Growth Organization. It's taking place at 5:30 p.m. at Bar Louie. Just a chance for any new members that are looking at joining, or any young professionals that are new to the area and wanting to kind of mingle, network, get to know people. It's a great opportunity. So we'll be meeting down there with the Sioux City Growth Organization at 5:30 p.m. at Bar Louie.
How old do you have to
Otherwise-
be?
Hey, age is just a number. Yeah, exactly.
Young at heart, I'm a member.
Heart. Exactly.
Okay.
Dan Moore, one of our younger
Let
members.
them know, though, there's a parade, so they can come to it right after that.
Right after. Deal. I can do that. The only other thing I would say is I went to the memorial ceremony for fallen officers today here in the chambers. It was pretty moving. It always is every year. But just nice to take a chance. to remember those fallen officers, whether it's the Sioux City Police Department, county, sheriff's office, firefighters, you name it. They all put their lives on the line every time they suit up. So thank you very much for all that you do. I'll be remembering you for sure this week and the days to come.
That ceremony was really nice too, because former Chief Frisbee spoke at it. emceed it in a way, so it was.
I bet he did.
It was very good. No, it was good. I know.
Yeah, it was.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I'm sure that it was entertaining. Well, probably not today, though. Never mind.
On Saturday, I represented all of you with the fourth grade students receiving their Sioux City history projects. That was really, it's really cool to see. You get some really neat projects that are put together. So thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to have that opportunity. There's an email we received last week from Sheila Martin. Siouxland Mental Health Center has been chosen as a designated agency to work with the Department of Human Services to reach out to individuals and businesses that have been affected by the recent flooding in the counties of Woodbury and Monona. This project is known as Project Recovery Iowa. Volunteers from Siouxland Mental Health Center will be meeting with people in several Woodbury and Monona communities in the next couple of weeks. And they will be identifiable by the gray T-shirts, and they will be wearing a sign that says Project Recovery Iowa. So that'll be going on in the next couple of weeks. Look for that. One other thing. An important commission, one of our important commissions, Civil Service Commission. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we're looking for one male volunteer and one female volunteer for the civil service.
I think it's just down to one, isn't it?
Yeah, we're down to one.
So one what? One
Male is what we need
male
to
volunteer for the
balance.
Civil Service Commission. So if any of you know of anyone that would be willing to serve, it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
It's a big ask, but.
And it's really important, so
Lisa Peterson was reappointed on March 7th.
good, okay. So I'll go out and start drumming up some business on boards and commissions, because I don't like to have the vacancies. And it really hurts the Civil Service Commission to have a vacancy. So it's very important that we all fill that. I think you've got.
Lisa, Mike,
You've
that in your
been
homework.
packing our committees with lawyers, though. I don't know. I'll
Don't
try to
start
drum-
with me now.
I'll try
not
to
after.
drum up some people.
Bertrand.
You're rubbing off on Mr. Water.
I just noticed the applications. What was your profession? Oh, you're a lawyer. Okay, great. What was your?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thursday night, whether I wanted to or not, I got to spend the evening at the ER room at the St. Luke's Hospital, and my arms look like I'm a drug addict because they don't have good veins, but I don't think they, as I was leaving and they were telling me what great care they gave me, they asked why they couldn't have stop signs on all four corners at 28th and Douglas. I got to thinking, why don't we have 4 stop signs on that corner? I know I'm going to hear a million reasons why not, but hear me out on this one. Why would you have them at 28th in Nebraska and 28th in Pierce if it isn't for ambulance coverage? So why would you not have them on the street where the ambulance actually goes in? Because an ambulance doesn't have to stop at a stop sign. But wouldn't you want to make sure the other people are stopping in case an ambulance was coming? Wouldn't that make more sense? Pete, you're a cop.
But it's not a four-way stop at 28th in Nebraska, is it?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. It is at Pierce, for sure.
I thought Nebraska,
28th
north-south traffic was 27th, and but yeah, no, I agree.
But
Because of their
at
emergency.
that one where the ambulance has to get to.
Yes.
It seems to me should be the intersection Pierce Street. If you're not going to have, then why do we need it at Pierce? It just, so I guess I'm asking for you to look at that, because it was at one time.
We can do a warrant analysis. I'd actually probably say that 28th and Pierce probably isn't warranted.
Right, so that's the question, is why is it, but where
Pull it,
ambulances.
move it.
Huh?
Scooch over. Pull up those signs and put them over an intersection.
Well, we'll have to look and see, we have to look and see if it's warranted.
Okay, and maybe I'm wrong on Nebraska, but I think maybe I don't stop.
I think 29th Street, well, I don't know if 29th Street
talking
goes four-way either, but.
Is it 28th or 29th north of the hospital?
I think 29th.
Okay, I'm talking 29th Street then,
Yeah, 29th and Pierce, I know is a four-way
Yeah.
stop.
Four-way,
I'd
yeah.
have to look at the other ones, but,
on Nebraska.
I mean,
okay?
just to
Yeah,
compare
but
them.
why is
I'm
Nebraska?
gonna say most likely Pierce
Yeah,
isn't
it
warranted
should
to
be on-
start with, and probably
And
shouldn't be a
ambulances
four-way
go-
stop.
Well, and if
Use
you
Douglas
look at all
Street a
of them
lot.
and see if.
Right,
it's
I'm
with
just saying, make
Douglas,
sure
if the
they
ambulance is
stop
going there,
on
yeah.
there when an
And
ambulance
if the
is
other one's
coming.
not, then who cares, pull it.
Yep.
So, anyway.
We can add them.
Now, I've made my request, the ER room will be happy, and I know what the answer will be no, but at least I did my part to try to make it, the community safer. Now, engineers will become involved, and it'll have little or no effect. So I'll move to adjourn with that.
Second.
Or,
I will serve as a character reference for you on the needle. Your arm. Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Greckin.
Aye.
Throw this in the backpack.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the other two intersections.
Yeah, they want me to-